My name's Joel Gandara, and I'm one of the mentors in the group. Happy to be here with you guys. Tell you a quick thing about me. I am a coach. I coach entrepreneurs, and I've been an entrepreneur since the fourth grade. I've been doing this a long time. I own apparel brands. I own this fulfillment center that you see here, and you're going to see some motion back here because there are people working. It's a busy day. And let's jump into the questions. I say this probably every time that I do these. I don't always get to do them every single month, but every time I do them, I read the questions ahead of time, and I always think these are fantastic. I love it. They're early stage questions sometimes, which makes me think like, wait, how come they don't know this? And then I remember, okay, they haven't been through it. That's all right. That's what I'm here for. I have experience. I'm not that smart, but I do have experience, so that's sometimes more valuable. All right, first question is from Josh Sia. Let's see if I say this right. Sia Ramitaro. I hope I said that right. Josh is from intrinsin.com. All right, his question is, how do I know what questions to ask mentors when I don't know what questions to ask? Here's the background on that. Intensify is a new e-commerce business in the FBA retail and online arbitrage space. We are new, and I just don't know what questions to ask you mentors in order for me to grow my company. I want to learn and I want to get guidance, but I am a little stuck knowing what to ask. We're pretty much pre-revenue and just starting with the company. If it helps, I also have a full-time job, so I'm doing this on off hours with hopes to possibly quit my job someday. Well, hopefully that day comes sooner than you could imagine, Josh. Here's what I do when I try to help somebody through something like this, especially in this, what you're saying, e-commerce. I do own an e-commerce business. So I usually like to have that person, when I'm coaching someone, I like to have them come in and I show them what we do. Because what happens is usually that opens their mind to possibilities and to seeing, oh, that's how it's done. Well, it's done like this, and I'm over here. What's in between? And then all the questions start popping up in your head because think about it. You say, well, wait, why do you do that? There's a question for our mentor. And we say, well, here's why we do that. And usually the answers are good because if you ask me certain things, why do you do this thing this way in your warehouse or on your website or on your customer emails or whatever? I can usually give you a reason why we did that because I did it wrong for many years and that taught me how to do it right. So so that's the thing. I think you have to find the right mentors. It's not just ask questions to ask questions. There's also something else. You really at this stage just don't know what you don't know, right? And that you get through seeing more processes, getting deeper into your business and talking to the right people. So I hope that helps. That might be kind of vague, but there's no specific right now. It's just getting in, getting your hands dirty and getting into it. All right. Next question is from Carrington Crothers. How could I make a loyalty program effective for my business? Here's what he says. I own a photography agency focusing on creating unique and creative product imagery for clients to use digitally to increase online sales. So Carrington takes pictures for online companies. I have been unsuccessful over the past year or so to figure out a subscription model that would help bring in more clients slash revenue on a retainer or additional monthly income basis. I was wondering if a loyalty program where people can earn points to get rewards to excite them and spark more recurring bookings. I would love to hear your ideas on whether a loyalty program like this would be good for my business or what other options you would look into in order for me to create retainer clients as opposed to one-off bookings. Thanks so much. So, Carrington, I love the idea of the recurring revenue model and keep people hooked. I don't know if if a loyalty program is your thing. I usually think of a loyalty program every single time that I go and I don't know, you go to a massage, right? And they may punch a card, and after so many of them, you may get a free one. So that type of service, or you've bought from this website X amount of time. On our e-commerce websites, we do that. We do exactly that. If you buy, you get a 5% loyalty reward that you get to use the next time you shop. And it's really easy because it's sitting there on your checkout if you're logged in, and then you just click a button to use your points. And it keeps people coming back because then they earn some more there, so they got to keep coming back. The issue is, and I've worked with a lot of photographers, and I can't imagine that for me being a type of business where there is a loyalty program, you could talk to some of your clients and say, how can I continue to earn your business? I'm thinking of doing this. Do you think that might keep you coming back? I think those might be good people to ask because they're the ones cutting the check, right? I'm just answering a question. It's I think it's more effective for that person who's already hired you and maybe has hired you twice or three times, and you get to say, hey, why is it that you're coming back, and how could I get other clients to come back? I'm very open with people, so if I get an opportunity to ask a client a question like that, I would. They're a captive audience. They're working with you. Now, the tough thing is, see, you're doing something creative, and potentially it's a one-off. You might be getting clients that just want to sell this one product one time, and why would they need you again if that's all they were doing that one time? What I think are better clients are, to use my example, our clients like us. We have a photographer, and he works with us every single month. We have photo shoots, and it's tens of thousands of dollars that he can count on every year for many years now. Not because he got me in a program or anything like that, but because the nature of our business. It's fashion products, and they have to keep we have to keep doing the photography for them because new items keep coming out. So I think that's the ideal type of client. If you can get clients that product assortment keeps changing every month, like fashion, that could be very interesting. Now, if it's too big of a company, they may have their in-house photography team or whatever. Maybe you can offer them services, but try looking at that at companies that have to keep getting um, photography done. So I'll give you an example. Somebody who has a doctor's office, they're probably going to do one photo shoot for the website, and that's it. And they might update that photo shoot 5 years from now. That's probably not your ideal client. Like I said, your ideal client keeps changing out products constantly, and they need to have you come back. All right. Next one is from Brad Letchworth, and the question is, how do you know when the time is right to leave your full-time job and go all in on your business? And here's the background. I'm currently a full-time firefighter and paramedic for a local municipality and have 13 years of service invested with 12 more for retirement. So you're just over halfway there. The climate has changed drastically, and although I've never dreamed I would even consider leaving the fire service, I find myself struggling to find a reason to stay. My business has been growing slowly over the last several years, but it's still not at the point where I feel comfortable leaving the guaranteed income of my fire job. However, I'm totally burned out. So, Brad, I've been exactly there. I had a job that I wasn't happy with. I was working 10 to 12 hours a day in front of a computer screen with a headset on, calling and selling, and it really burned me out. Um, the only problem is, yeah, we may want to leave the job, but you're right, guaranteed income is a thing, and benefits and whatever else you're getting from that. So that's tough to let it go. Good thing is you have a business, and I looked you up. I went to your website, surfacemedicsms.com, and so I understand it's cleaning and outdoor pressure cleaning and all those sorts of things. The ideal situation, and I always thought this when I thought that one day I'm going to leave my full-time job and go into business. I always thought I need my income from my business to at least get pretty close to what I'm making in the job. It doesn't have to beat it because that might take years longer, but at least get me somewhat close where I can make that jump. Now, to do that, to make that jump, even though my income was lower, I personally lived way below my means so that I could have a big gap there, and it's okay. Those extra 2,000 a month weren't going to kill me because I wasn't living a very expensive life. I'll tell you what happened for me. For me, I just needed a really bad day to push me over the edge because I was already on the edge, and I had a commission taken away from me. And if it was legit, I would be okay with it. And it was my fault, sure. It wasn't. Somebody cheated and had somebody cancel a reservation with me, booked it with someone else. They made all the commission, and I lost it. And when I showed it to the supervisor, said they looked at it, they traced it, they said, you're absolutely right. That shouldn't have been taken from you, but our policy is this, and we can't go back. We'll take it from the other guy, but we can't pay you. So I quit that day. Um, I'm so glad that happened. In the moment, it was the worst thing. I got a commission taken away. The supervisors didn't back me up, and I was a top performer. Good thing that happened. That forced me to quit and focus on my business. But just like you, I already had a side business. I had something that was going on. So I've seen people quit their jobs, a nice stable job, for an idea that they have, not for a business like you, who's already making money and growing that. Um, Now, when you do decide to quit, it could be this year, it might be next year, who knows? Um, you got to know that now you're on your own, and hopefully that awakens something in you that gets you to get to the next level. So maybe you can double the sales in the next year. Um, it sounds like because you mentioned it that you like the guaranteed part of the income. So in your business, hopefully you can go after commercial accounts and get a little bit of that guarantee. Nothing's guaranteed, but you can get a little bit of that more stable income. And you can do that maybe with commercial accounts that might have you come back every quarter or twice a year or once a year, but you know that you have these contracts that'll last longer. So, and who knows, maybe you can get contracted by the fire service, or the network that you've built through that. And here's another thing, Brad, the more money you make in your current job, the more difficult this decision is. If you had a low paying job, this would be a very easy decision. And that's why I said if you live way below your means, it doesn't matter. You can be making $1 million a year. It's easy to quit because you only live on 50,000 a year. So you got a lot of soul searching to do. You got a lot of talking to people who've hopefully been through these paths before, so you can bounce ideas off because it is a very big decision. Next question. Oh, sorry. You know what? There was a page break off here, and I didn't finish that question. And I'm just out of respect to Brad, I will. As I scroll down now, I see it. He says, however, I am totally burned out and ready to leave. It's the fear that's holding me back and the lure of guaranteed income and benefits that keeps me there. So how do I know when it's the right time, or should I make the leap? Okay, good. So yeah, you sound like the type of person that needs some sort of guarantee and benefits and that sort of thing. Some entrepreneurs don't need that. They just figure it out as they go. So if you need that, hey, so here's an idea. Maybe go focus on your business, but instead of the hours that you work, maybe you go get a more stable job, but that's less hours, and that lets you focus your attention on your business. So you can do this in steps. You don't have to jump off the cliff. Maybe you can go from that high cliff to a little bit lower cliff, so that when you do the jump, it's not as big. Next question is from Kelly Killingsworth. What things would you recommend I do to help me better manage my time? Kelco is an excavation company specializing in trenching, site prep, road work, aggregate hauling, and heavy equipment operations to include forestry, land, so a bunch of stuff. I'm looking for the most effective way to manage my daily tasks, business, family time, personal growth time, and me time. I have a daily, monthly planner, but I'm thinking there has to be a more effective way to manage my time. I feel I should be more productive. So, Kelly, first thing, I'm assuming that daily, monthly planner is a paper or a big something on your desk. I'd start by throwing that away. I think that's good if you're in 1985. That's fantastic. That's as good as it got. But I would use a calendar, and I would put everything in that calendar, and I would make sure I have it on Gmail, like on your Google, on your phone, so that anywhere in the world that you are, if someone says, "Hey, are you free October 21st at 7 p.m.?" you could look and say, "Yeah, what do you got? I'm free. I can do it." And boom, done in the moment. I have a rule. I either do the thing that I know I have to do right now, or I put it in my calendar. And then I live by that calendar. So today I had this scheduled. I saw it last night. I saw it this morning, and I'm here to do this. I know what I have next. I have a phone call, and then after that, I have these other things. So all of that is scheduled. I get to see my day in blocks, and then I get to see, okay, I have some free time here. I could book this thing that I need. If I'm too tense or stressed out, I can add extra time to, during this time I'm gonna meditate or run or lift weights or whatever, but it's all scheduled in there. And that's how I live my life. I found tremendous value in that. It's one of the top focuses that I do with my coaching clients. So it's not just that it works for me. I've seen it work tremendously well for a lot of people, and it really changes their life because now they see it at a glance. It's just like if you told me you wanted to lose weight, and I would tell you, well, start writing down the things that you eat. Let's do this for a week and let's see what happens. Once you see it all written down, you're aware of it. And now that you're aware, you put attention to it and you put energy at it, and you do a better job of changing those habits. So same thing. If I saw your calendar, I could tell a lot about you, because you could tell me, oh, I'm really into my family and taking care of my clients and this and that, and taking care of myself. But if I looked at your calendar, I would know if that's true or not, because I could see your history. That's all that really matters. It's not what you say, it's what's in your calendar and what you're actually doing. So put it in the calendar and then do it. It's as simple as that, and it's a life-changing task, I think. Good luck with that, Kelly. All right, the next one is from Rosalie Akloke. What are the best ways to discuss work performance concerns with team members in the way that will help them improve rather than feel frustrated? I have an accounting firm. When a team member gets stuck with a client's work, I jump on a call with them and resolve the issue almost immediately. I have seen them get frustrated and embarrassed with themselves. How can I better these conversations So we leave feeling great and positive. All right, Rosalie, that's great that you can jump in and take care of your client. That means you're a good worker, but that doesn't mean you're a good leader. So the best way I think is to build leaders by helping them think through things. So I would ask questions like, okay, so tell me what happened. And the client, the client's not there in the moment, let's say, and your employee is telling you, well, this is what happened and the thing. So my first question is, all right, what do you think we should do? And let them come up with it. And that way you get to see their thinking and their thought process. And if they're going down the right direction, keep guiding them that way and say, great, okay, good. And what about this? What do you think about that? And then they'll answer those questions. And now you led them the right way. But if you find that they're going the wrong way, you can ask questions about that to lead them back in the right direction. So um, I don't know. They forgot to process the profit and loss statement for a client. It had to be due by the 4th, and they forgot all about it. It's now the 5th, and the client's complaining because they couldn't have their finance meeting because you didn't, your employee didn't prepare it. The worst thing I think you could do is jump in and do it yourself. Because once you do that, I don't think you're as good a leader, and then that person is not very valuable either as an employee because you're not teaching them, they're not improving, the company's never going to grow. So I would ask the employee, so why? What happened? What went wrong? And this isn't about yelling at them or belittling them. They shouldn't feel frustrated. Hopefully, they feel a little frustrated so that they fix it. You don't want them leaving too happy when they made a mistake. But you ask them, so what happened? Okay, yeah. So on the 4th, you did not have the report. How come? And if they say, well, you know what, I forgot, I was busy. And well, did you have any reminders set? How would you remember? Let's say you don't have a good memory. How would you be able to make sure this never happens again with this client or any other client? And they say, well, I don't know, I could put an alarm in my phone. Okay, good, good. Would that help? How about a calendar? If it was in your calendar and it popped up and told you, and you knew by the end of the day that you had to do these things, would that help? And yeah, that would help. And okay, let's give it a try. Let's put it in. Let's schedule your day for tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And then let's talk about it in a day or two and see how it's going. That's it. I think that's a whole different approach. I just made up that example. There could be many more examples, but I think having rules on how to do things, hopefully the people you're hiring know how to do these things, make sure they're trained on these basic things. I think anybody can do anything. If you train somebody to do it and you show them 10 times, they're probably going to do it right. Now it's just those habits about doing things on time, making sure they tell the client, right? And automating that process. I understand you have people and you're dealing with people, so it's not automation. You're not going to write software that does all of this. But what are the rules? Did you do this? Did you check this box? Did you do the next step? Right. So I think that's the best way to lead. Make sure that they're able to learn through their process and work their way out of it. Otherwise, it's like having a kid and you're not teaching that kid because you're saying, no, no, let me do it for you. I would never do it for my kid. I would let them do it themselves and I'll talk them through it. All right. Next question is from Leanna Kolinsky. How do I find money to pay for things as a new business owner when cash flow is super tight and we just don't have the money for certain things like websites, marketing, etc.? I've been trying to set up the website myself, but it's very difficult. I've checked YouTube how-to videos, tutorials, etc., but it's but it's far too confusing for me. I have looked into Fiverr, but I'm hesitant. I know I need a better e-commerce website and some other things for the business in order to grow sales, but I feel stuck knowing how to get it done and pay for it. What did you do to find money to pay for things in the beginning? So Leanna, I yeah, I'm glad you asked what I did because that's really where I could help. There are many ways to raise money. I did not raise it ever through friends or family or a loan or gifts or anything like that. I did it through hustling. And even though I didn't have my business where I needed it to be initially, let's say, my business was an earlier version of that. So let's say that you want to start this business. I think you said e-commerce. You need a website, that sort of thing. I don't know what type of business it is, but um, well, is there anything you could be doing that's in line with what you want to do that gets you there? So let's say I want to start this website. It's going to cost me $5,000. I'm going to put products on there. I'm going to sell them. Well, could I start a little simpler? Can I start on eBay and Etsy and Amazon and Walmart.com? Could I just get the products and sell them there rather than create all my marketing and website? They'll drive traffic to me. That's what Amazon does, and eBay. That's why they take a big cut. So could that be the pre-business that gets you to the business? In my case, I used to sell at flea markets back before eBay and before the internet and all of that. And that made me some money. And then I started on eBay and then I started websites and then I started, different things like that. But the other one is I always had a full-time job, a part-time job, and a business on the side. All of that gave me money. And then I bought a house and I had rental income from me. So So you look everywhere I see, where I live here in South Florida in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, there's a for hiring sign, right? And everybody's hiring and they're paying well. So could you get a side hustle? Um, I would question if you think you can't, if you think you cannot do one, what are you doing with your time, right? Just make sure that every minute that you're awake is productive and that you're making money, because that's the money that's going to make you millions later. So you say for every thousand I make today, it's $1 million I'm going to make later. I think that number is very realistic over a lifetime. So go get that thousand and the other thousand and the other thousand. When you look at it from that perspective, it's not a thousand, it's $1 million later. Do you want the million later? Go earn the thousand today and do that, repeat it over and over. Have any more? Yeah. Let's see how many more we got. A couple more. All right. So 1 second. I want to make sure I don't skip anybody's question. So that was Kelly. I know we got Rosalie, Leanna. All right. So the next one is from James Testani. Where can I find a temporary assistant to perform a repetitive, although necessary task? So here's the detail behind it. To improve SEO searchability, I am revamping my website, and part of that includes recreating over 400 posts. It's a pretty step-by-step thing that doesn't involve too much thinking. But after doing about 40 of these, I realized my time is better spent elsewhere on the business. James, congratulations on thinking that way. That's fantastic. You don't hear a lot of people think that way. Um, yeah, so you've done about 10% of it. You know you don't want to do this anymore. You're going to go crazy, and your time could be better spent on things. So Fiverr, Upwork, that sort of thing. I would, I like hiring people on there and saying this way, the job posting says, I need you to do this task and then do it. And then send me like a screen recording or, show me that you did it. And based on how well you did it and how quickly, I'll hire the person, right? So you may get 5 people to do it and have them each do 2. So there you got 10 of them done. You see who does it the best, although it sounds like it's going to be so easy. Anybody can do it. Whoever does it the quickest, maybe that's who you hire, and you go forward with it. And it's overseas where the US dollar is going to go a long way, and you're probably going to find somebody to do this for, I don't know, I wouldn't pay them per hour, I would pay them for the job, because you know the number that you need to hit. So maybe it's 50 cents per each post that they replicate or whatever. If this was ongoing, I would tell you to automate it, have somebody write a little software to do it, but it's only 400 posts. You could probably do it way cheaper by having somebody overseas do that for you. All right, next question is from Kristen Lander. Let me have a sip of coffee here. What are some ways an entrepreneur who is in a stage that requires working 60 to 70 hours a week can also plan some downtime for thinking of fresh ideas? The amount of time I'm working on growing my online business is not sustainable, but necessary for now. I also know that when I have some free time, I'm better able to come up with innovative solutions and growth ideas. I imagine this conundrum is not unique. Curious how others have handled it. So, Kristen, I'll tell you how I handled it. That's not necessarily the best way, but it's how I just worked, and I'd probably do 80 to 90 hours a week for years, probably for over a decade. I did that, and so I just put my head down and worked a lot. But I did let myself get out of shape, and I wasn't as solid as I could have been. My head was down in the weeds, taking care of little things, so I didn't see the bigger picture. It wasn't until I started stepping away from the day to day that started getting better ideas. I was more valuable to my own business, and I was happier. And it kind of gave me a break from 15, 20 years of grinding that way. And as you get older, you definitely welcome that if you put in the work initially. You need it more. But to avoid that, I would recommend finding that opportunity. The way I do everything is scheduled. So I would schedule time where I say, okay, you know what, today at 7:30 p.m. I could be done with work. I wouldn't do it the day of. I would do this far in advance. That time gets blocked off to do massage or meditation or exercise or whatever. And those are the types of things that I think could re-energize you. But more importantly of all that is exercise. I really believe in that. Everybody that I coach will tell you how much I push that on them, because I think if your mind is, I'm sorry, if your body is running on all cylinders and super healthy and you're taking the right vitamins and sleeping and exercising, then you're going to think better. It's definitely going to make you feel better. Your self-confidence goes up, which makes your decision making better. So I think all that goes together. So I would hope that you could carve out time to exercise. And some people, especially when they're not very successful winners, They say they don't have time to exercise. It's funny how the most successful people I know, they're very busy, but they find the time to exercise. They make the time to exercise. If you're not there in your work for an hour today, it's probably not the end of the world, especially if you pre-program this. Go get back at it after work. Another thing is I recommended to somebody who told me they just didn't have the time to block off. Maybe every hour you spend 5 minutes, and this is in your calendar. It's in your alarm, so it pops up and alerts you, and you stop and you do some push-ups, you do some sit-ups, jog in place, whatever you got to do, some air squats, whatever it is, and it gets all that energy flowing. You're going to be way more focused on your business because if you, for me personally, 30 minutes is my longest period of focus time. After that, I need a break. I need to walk away. I need to do push-ups. I need to stretch, go for a walk, jumping jacks, whatever it is. That's part of ADHD that I have. I don't know if you have that. Maybe you can go longer, but you got to figure out what works for you and set that time aside to do those positive things like exercising. All right. The last question. Oh no, the next question is from Greg Mandile. And that question is, how do you do market research? I'd like to get a competitive analysis of what I charge versus what my competitors charge. I've tried price shopping, but my main product is websites, and finding out what my competitors charge isn't easy. They need to set up a consult and ask me lots of questions. Is there a way to do this for other like companies in my area so I can find out if I'm not charging enough? Well, Greg, how about in this group alone? I mean, because I would ask my network. In this group alone, there's all these business people that might need a website. Maybe they can work with you. But before they do that, why not have them give them a little assignment? Hey, why don't you just ask around and let me know? And could you record those Zooms that you have with them? And then I'll try to beat that. And that's a big ask if you don't know the person. But if you build a good network of friends, everybody would be happy to do that for you. If you're my friend and you ask me to do that, I'll happily call and I'll have a Zoom with that company and I'll say, hey, I'm going to record this and I need to make sure I get all my quotes in order. And there you go. There's a uh, perfect research that can be done for you by your friends. So make sure you build up those connections and those relationships. Another question from Greg Mandile, and I believe this is our last question. It is, should I set up KPIs for my business and why? I'm a web design and development company. Actually, I, I speak differently, Greg. You're not that because you might be something else in the future. And so you own a web design and development company. I've been introduced to KPIs, but I don't currently use them. How can they help me better organize my business and what KPIs should I focus on? So, Greg, I'm going to assume that you have some KPIs, whether you know them or not, whether you've organized that into a question that you ask yourself every day and check or not. I think you might be aware of some numbers, whether it's people visiting your site, calls that came in. There's something. You just haven't put them into an organized bundle. But so your question, should I set them up? Absolutely. Um, why is because that's how you know if things are going well, if you're doing the right things, and then you're getting the right results. So this is how detailed and exact KPIs can be. There's a company that I read about in a fantastic business book, and they're called Telepizza. And I think they're in Madrid, Spain. I think that they went all over Spain, but and they may not be in business anymore. This is back in the 90s. But that company had it down to a science. If they delivered X amount of flyers on people's front doors every night, they knew exactly how many pizzas they were going to sell that night. I mean, within a ridiculously small window of variance. And based on that, because they knew how many pizzas they were going to sell that night, they knew how much pepperoni to have on hand, how much dough to have been rolled out. They had this business down to a science. And their leading indicator, the number one thing they needed to know is how many flyers did we deliver today? That's it. They knew how many phone calls were going to come in, and they measured all of that. So they measured the flyers, they measured the phone calls, they measured the number of pizzas, the sales, the pepperoni that was used, everything. So don't overcomplicate this. Make it simple, Greg. I would just tell you this. If you're on an island or you're on a vacation and you have no communication except for one little sheet every day that could be given to you, that would tell you a lot of what's going on in the business. What would you want to know? And you weren't running the company. It wasn't you at all. It was your clone or it was an employee or whatever. But you have to just take a look at this sheet. And I would start with those and start getting those numbers. What I like doing is automating them and seeing them on a dashboard on my phone, which I can check 100 times a day if I want to, and I can see them and see it live as things are going. Depending on your type of business, maybe whatever the numbers are. And then if I was coaching you, I would go through this conversation with you and we'd write them all down. What would be good to know, right? In advance, what could we do? Is it Did we set up new Facebook ads? Did we do this? Did we do that? Did we make phone calls? Did we send emails? So that's all the work that you do. And then the results that you're getting are also on that KPI. Um, and for those that don't know, those are key performance indicators. Those are things that are very important in your business that tell you what's going on. And some of them are ahead of the time and some are later. For example, if I make X amount of phone calls, that's upfront. That's what you're doing ahead of time. And then I got X amount of sales. That's kind of the result. But all of those are good to know. And as you develop it, you start one way, and you start realizing, well, this one's not very important, or you know what, this one's good, but I need to know more about it. And you develop your KPIs over time. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. All right, Greg, I hope that helps. Thanks everybody for listening to me. Thanks, Sean Thomas, for having me, and I hope you guys have a great day.